Yesterday, Barrett and Drew were carrying Dee around on a chair, basically like her throne. And I thought that just summed up Barrett and Drew's game completely this season. What's up, everybody? Let's quickly try and talk about yesterday on Big Brother 28 live feeds, although we got to start with the fact that Dee is the one with the power. Not surprised that the third vet in a row got voted in to have a power. She got the Big Brother bribe, which isn't the best necessarily, but then they made it good for the entire game, which is a big deal. And it makes me believe that Dee's going to be around till the end game, which I already thought anyway. But now that she has this power, I just feel like she is definitely one of production's faves. But the vets have been production's faves this entire time. I always did suspect that Dee had the power until yesterday, when it did seem like Drew was saying all of these fun plans for next week. I think we just know that Drew is dumb, and so we thought he was extra dumb and had a power and didn't use it this week because he does come off as cocky. So at least Drew doesn't have a power, and he might not go home with a... Well, if he goes home this week, he won't go home with a power in his pocket. So while Drew is a sloppy, dumb player, not quite as dumb as suspected at least, Chuk told Haley yesterday that Yash was giving information to Taylor and Mallory. I feel like Chuk is starting to try and grow a target on Yash. He's told Angela that Yash is joking about Angela being a target. He's trying to, get Angela's focus onto Yash when she starts going crazy on someone. If Drew leaves, Yash might be the next person she's looking at, and I do think it's working. I mean, at least Chuk is doing something, so there's that. Barrett told Mallory that Haley wants to talk to her and possibly cut a deal. He told Mallory that the replacement nominee will either be Mallory or Lyric, and did tell Mallory that Lyric had been making safety deals with a ton of people throughout the house, which is very accurate. I almost wanted to give Barrett credit for finally doing something in this game that wasn't just kissing the vets' asses, because that's been one of my biggest complaints with Barrett. His entire game has been about being at the bottom of a big alliance just so he can say he's working with the vets and helping the vets. He did finally give Mallory some information about what's going on. This is really the first time Barrett has given real information to someone that's not in the Hateful Eight alliance. But, Dee kind of pushed him to do this in the first place. I think they're trying to get Mallory to be more on the vet's side, less on the red corner's side, Chuk, Haley, Kamu. So I can't give Barrett much credit, but he did finally do something rather than just be furniture and try and help the vets. Barrett let Mallory know that Dee has been telling him that Drew could be the real target, and Barrett is talking about how he wants Kamu, Chuk, Haley up so bad. And I do believe that. I think Barrett is ready to make a move against those three. But I feel like he needed approval from Dee first to think that way. Because that's exactly what happened. Dee has been planting these seeds the past couple of weeks against Chuk, Haley, Kamu. And now when Dee and Barrett finally have a conversation about how Haley, Chuk, Kamu are controlling things, Barrett gets approval from Mama Dee that he can take a shot at them soon. And that's exactly what Dee wants without the blood on her hands. So, good for Dee. Barrett also told Mallory that Kamu wants to pull Lyric into the group because she's alone and that Kamu probably likes her. Lyric and Mallory had a conversation talking about Barrett because Lyric doesn't know where Barrett's head is. Mallory is saying that she thinks Barrett is with them. But Lyric says the whole voting thing from last week freaks me the fuck out. Mallory wrongly states that she thinks that Barrett was going to keep her. The whole thing with this trio of Lyric, Mallory, Melody is that they never really have each other's backs when it comes down to it. Mallory was telling Melody that what Lyric has been doing this week is a little weird. Melody agrees. Melody says at this point in the game there are sides and you need to pick one, which is true. But we know Melody has turned on Mallory at some point in this game too, and Lyric is currently turning on both of them, and Mallory now wants to turn on Lyric to save her own ass. Like, that trio has not been able to be strong together whatsoever. Then we had a few people trying to discredit Taylor's veto win this week, including Mallory and, of course, Haley and Chuk at 1.2, trying to discuss how it was luck or whatever. But the truth is, it's a veto where you have to read other people and see if they're lying. And Taylor is very good at reading other people. She might be the most observant person in that house that is actually very good at reading the house. So I think the truth is Mallory could hate that Taylor won that veto, but Mallory can't even read like Barrett has been playing her ass the entire game. So it should be no surprise that Mallory couldn't win that veto. She can't read shit in that house, unlike Taylor. Angela has done a good job of being Lala's friend. You know, she's been there for Lala a lot these past few weeks, especially when Rome went home. That's when Lala's game became the nothing burger that it is now, because Lala's only game move this entire season was to try and be Rome's number one. Since Rome was exposed and that whole thing fell apart, Lala is kind of a non-factor where the game is concerned, and I still don't see her being in it. Lyric and Mallory had a conversation about Taylor because Lyric does like Taylor. I think Lyric does understand that Taylor has good reads and will keep it real. Mallory has been annoyed with Taylor because she wasn't going to keep Mallory in the vote over Lala, which I understand why Mallory is hurt that Taylor wasn't going to keep her, but it was Lala, and I do think Mallory should be more understanding of that. In this conversation, Lyric told Mallory, reiterated to her, saying, and I quote, "I told you that the whole house was going to vote you out. Not me or Melody, but everybody else." And I do need Mallory to get that through her head, that includes Barrett and Drew. The entire house was going to vote her ass out too. Speaking of Barrett and Drew, one thing I do want to note it was very telling. It was like this season in a nutshell, or at least Barrett and Drew's games in a nutshell. Yesterday, Barrett and Drew were carrying Dee around on a chair, basically like her throne. And I thought that just summed up Barrett and Drew's game completely this season. Haley was still pretty upset with Kamu yesterday, at least in the daytime. She kind of softened as the day went along after the whole disagreement over Lyric. And after being so upset with Kamu, Haley did tell Angela and Dee that she wants to go to the end with them. Again, just another example of how far the vets are going to make it in this game. And Dee with a power that lasts the whole game. Haley asked Angela how are they feeling about Barrett. Angela did bring up that it feels like Barrett loves Mallory. Dee said so she needs to go so we can have him more. And then Haley talked about how Drew told her that Mallory and Barrett were really like this, maybe even more of a thing, which does sound like Drew. I don't remember him saying that, but it's probably something Drew has alluded to with his sloppy ass gameplay. Next, Haley had a conversation with Lyric, and I do think this is a conversation that buried her to become the renom this week, which I think she was already going to be anyway. Haley asked Lyric straight up who Lyric would prefer to stay this week between Drew and Melody, and Lyric and her fake ass said Drew. But here's the problem with Lyric trying to throw all of her friends under the bus. It's just not a good look. And it really does just come across to me like Lyric just tells people what they want to hear. And I don't think Haley is falling for it. As much as hateful Haley gets on my nerves, there are certain people in this game that Haley can read. And I do think Lyric is one of them. So when Haley and Kamu finally sat down to talk about their disagreement about yesterday, Kamu said that he was down to support her, however, moving forward, that he was just trying to lay out the pros and cons of each, and he didn't mean for things to get heated. And I do think they've made up for the most part. Taylor had a really good day yesterday. I feel like more and more people are appreciating how much she keeps it real. That's something Barrett has always appreciated with Taylor. He's basically said to the cameras yesterday that if he was watching this season, he would root for Taylor. because Taylor was talking about how Haley always thinks that Taylor is so hot and cold. And Taylor's like, yeah, that's because I'm not fake. I'm always honest. And that's just that. And I appreciate that about Taylor. You know, I love people that keep it real in general. But even in a game like this, that's hard to do. And that is exactly what Taylor does. Of course, she's going to come off hot and cold because she's not going to kiss ass and, you know, be a fake fraud. Because then you get Lyric. And I don't think Lyric's doing a good job with her. I love the other side so much, so let me throw all my friends under the bus. I think Haley even started to appreciate how real Taylor can be. Taylor talking to Haley about, like, she can be 100% real all the time. Like, I guess Haley asked for some of her chicken yesterday. Taylor was fine with it. But then when it came time during the competition for veto, she didn't want to stand next to Haley because her energy wasn't right. And that she's just going to be straight up. And I do think Haley was starting to appreciate that. Now, Mallory told Lyric and Melody that Haley told her that she's not going up. So that, of course, made Lyric question who could be going up next. And that was going to, you know, point to possibly her. I don't know if Mallory should have told this to Lyric, especially after all the information that Barrett told her. So I do think this, like, activated Lyric. And Lyric started to go around to all of her guys to try and activate them. You know, the guys she's been flirting with a lot. Chuk, Kamu, Yash. Lyric talked to Yash. Lyric is upset with Haley because Haley did promise her safety. Lyric said, if I said I'm not putting you up during a comp, I'd stay true to my word. If you flip on me, I'm going to be fucking pissed. Yash wants Lyric to tell that to Haley. Maybe it will change Haley's mind, because that is something you can use against Haley. Haley may have done a little too many promising people safety this week. Then Lyric went to Kamu to throw Mallory, her number one in the game, right under the bus. It's telling Kamu that Mallory said that she would put Kamu on the block if she won HOH. Kamu asked if she said Haley would go up. Lyric says in the past, but Mallory would put him, Chuk, and Lala up, and then D would be a replacement. So, of course, Kamu was talking to Taylor about how he heard Mallory was going to put her up. Taylor, and as usual, keeping it real, said, okay, but you can't be mad at Mallory because Kamu put Mallory up, which was true. And then Taylor was able to actually sit in the HOH and have a game talk with both Haley and Kamu. Now, it's no different when it comes to Taylor and Kamu. They've actually talked a lot of game these past few weeks, but Taylor and Haley actually talking game together is quite a big change. Kamu was talking to them both about how Lyric said Mallory is targeting him, and Taylor reiterated that Lyric is the one that told Kamu that. Taylor saying, what the fuck is wrong with that girl? Which had Haley also throwing Lyric under the bus to Taylor about how Lyric has been throwing a lot of different people under the bus this week, including talking about how Lala and Taylor talk shit about Haley. So now Taylor has information about Lyric. Taylor, Kamu, and Haley also discussed Barrett. And Taylor seems to think that Barrett is playing a Drew type game, but even better, or the right way, as Taylor said. And I don't know if I agree. I mean, yeah, Barrett and Drew are kind of in the middle, but really they're just on the bottom of a big alliance. Is Barrett, like, doing a better job not being a target than Drew? Yes, but it's not because he's playing a better game. It's because he's not playing the game, period. Taylor also talked about how she thought Drew might have the power because he's, like, likable from home, saying that people at home like Drew, but not so much in the house. Me, I said this yesterday, watching Drew on live feeds has become a chore to me. He really does get on my nerves. It's him, Chuk, Haley, and Angela who probably get on my nerves the most watching live feeds. Drew just be running around like a chicken with his head cut off sometimes, going from person to person. Maybe it would have been more enjoyable if there wasn't bets this season, but there is, so it's not enjoyable because he just has his head up their asses. I'm still wondering what his big fun plan is next week if he didn't have the damn power in the first place. He'd just be talking nonsense. At one point yesterday, probably the funniest moment on feeds to me actually was when Haley was talking about how Melody is going to miss Drew. Drew made a face as in, wait, are you saying I'm going home?
She's gonna miss you.
Haley covered and said like when Melody's out of the house. But that should have been a red flag to Drew. I don't know if Drew's catching these red flags. I still think he feels too safe this week when he currently is still the target. Lastly, Lyric continued to put her plan into motion to use the guys that she flirts with to try and get Haley to change Haley's mind to make her the renom. She had a long conversation with Chuk, which is very hard to listen to Chuk on feeds. Because honestly, all Chuk does is listen to what someone says and then kind of repeat what they say. But Chuk was talking to Lyric about how a lot of people that he works with trust Lyric. And Lyric said, if you guys trust me, don't put me on the block tomorrow. But Chuk says, I know, but we can't control the HOH. Lyric then apologized for kissing Rome and talking about that whole situation when she and Rome allegedly broke up. And Chuk is like, you can kiss your man, but like you were telling people you were not in a showman's. Lyric said, I don't think I said that, but Chuk said that he remembers Lyric saying that, and he was like, roll the tapes. Chuk right in this conversation. Chuk doesn't like that Mallory has been referring to his group, Chuk, Haley, Kamu, as the cool kids, even though most people in the house do that. Lyric, throwing Mallory under the bus again, told Chuk that Mallory thinks that Chuk, Haley, and Kamu have just been on a Disneyland vacation so far this summer. And Lyric also said that like she doesn't care if this like hurts her game relationship with Mallory because she thinks Mallory is going to go home soon anyway because she's a big target. One of the big problems with Lyric's game last night, being her fake ass self to Kamu and Chuk to try and get them to help her not be on the block this week, is that she contradicted herself with Kamu and Chuk. She told Kamu that Mallory is going to put up Kamu, Chuk, Lala, and then renom D. But then she told Chuk that Mallory would put up Kamu, Chuk, and Haley. If they compare notes, I don't know if that'd be a big enough thing to like catch Lyric lying or not. But I do already think that Haley suspects that Lyric is just trying to get her to not nominate her this week. And that she's trying to piss off Kamu and Chuk or make them worried to convince Haley to try and not put up Lyric. And once again, Haley is right about that. Haley is seeing Lyric's game for what it is. Chuk, however, seems very pumped to throw Mallory under the bus today. So that's something to watch today. He thought it was smart that Lyric sat and talked to him all night. It works on Chuk because he's not a good game player. We'll see what happens. I mean, I don't think that Chuk and Kamu are going to be able to convince Haley to nominate Mallory instead of Lyric. I think Lyric did some overplaying this week. Is it enough to make her the target over Drew this week? I kind of hope not. I'm still Team Drew go home because he is so annoying on feeds.